Round 2 at Sears Point, and after perfect weather for practice and qualifying, down came the rain on race day. Tom Christensen led away the field from pole position, whilst David Brabham was quick to get past Ronaldo Capello. Meanwhile, it was disaster for the LMP 675 at John Field, having electrical problems all weekend. And it wasn't going well either for number 1 Audi, spinning out of 3rd place. The conditions did begin to improve, with parts of the track drying. The 50 Panos now was in control of the race after nipping past Christensen, who handed over to Johnny Herbert, whose then luck was about to run out when he picked up a puncture. But it wasn't just Herbert who was unlucky as well. It had been a race of many incidents for the 45 Viper, but Spencer Trenery couldn't do much more after this. Ron Fellows and Johnny O'Connell in the familiar yellow Corvette were leading the GTS class. Whilst in the GTs, it was Lucas Law and Sasha Masson that led that class. Magnussen, having taken over from David Brabham, continued to lead, but being chased hard by Johnny Herbert. It was the second Panos of Bill Auberline and Brian Herter in 3rd place. Johnny Herbert put in a spirited drive to close down the gap to Magnussen, but traffic got in the way and he ended up crashing his way across the line in 2nd place. After 2 rounds, it's Johnny Herbert that leads the points table with 7 points in hand over Tom Christensen in 2nd place. He in turn just 1 point clear of 3rd place Van Capello. The 1st and 3rd made it an excellent result for the Panos team, whose hard work on revising the car was showing signs of paying off, and there's still more refinements to come. However, Audi were not using this year's car. And after the season opener at the Sebring and that unexpected damp race at Sears Point, it's onwards now to round 3, and that's at Mid-Ohio. Plenty more, though, to still come from the championship season before it closes in October at Road Atlanta. Then, of course, there's a special Sepang International in Malaysia. But it's all eyes concentrated now on the 2.258-mile track. The series first raced here last year and now returns for round 3. A series of practice sessions, as always, for all the classes prior to fettling and settling the cars, and the drivers can make their final preparations before they move on to that always important qualifying for grid position. 7 minutes into the combined practice session, and Jörg Bergmeister took the number 22 Porsche off the track and into the gravel at turn 11. The car had to be brought back to the pits on the recovery vehicle, and Bergmeister had a little bit of explaining to do afterwards. But it was much better fortune for Sasha Masson. His first run took the GT pole, and shortly after that he eclipsed his own time and no one was able to better it.
We have a good setup, we proved that, and the tires are good. We are 2 good drivers, the car is ready, it never had a problem in all the races, in all the practices. So it looks good, but you know, you never know.
Meanwhile, there was no surprises to find that it was the number 3 and the number 4 Corvette that was setting the pace in qualifying for the GTS class. But it was Ron Fellows putting in the fastest class time for the 3rd time this year to take pole position for the GTS class overall.
When I went out, the track looked very clean and seemed to have decent grip in it. It looks like a lot of guys chose to stay in, so we were out in line first, which we like to do, to have that option. And perfectly clear track. So we cut 2 fast ones. There was maybe a 3rd one there, but didn't have to use it. We got a race on these tires, so that's you cut that one early, you're in good shape.
They did hope to put the problems of round 2 behind them here, but the 37 car hit problems in practice. But despite that, they still managed to take the 675 class pole and set a new class record in the Ola MG when it mattered, and that was in the qualifying run. John Field will be partnered here by his 18-year-old son.
we thought we had a better race car now. We missed that one practice session because of the alternator, and we had a little better race car than we did in qualifying. But it was all right. You know, we're decent on the grid. We wanted to do a little better. You know how that is. Never good enough for racers.
Tom Christensen is back behind the wheel of the Works Audi after driving in the champion Audi at the last round. But it was not to be a happy bitbox during qualifying, problems with the gearbox ruining the session. Unable to improve on his time, 5th fastest was all that could be achieved, much to the frustration of Christensen and his race partner Rinaldo Capello, who will start further back on the grid than that they would have expected to have done. It was also not turning out to be the best of weekends either for Johnny Herbert and his new partner Stefan Johansson, but they did manage to take the final spot on the second row of the grid. Brian Herter got the measure of the Panos in the 900 class to put in the 3rd fastest time, just a quarter of a second off the front row time. Grid position is always a priority for every car, but the Panos, well, they need it slightly more. It's more critical for them to get ahead of the Audis, who do have a mechanical advantage over them. Work still carried on to find a good setup and try and improve the time, and also get the setup right for the race day. Making it to the front row, though, is David Brabham. He suffered a lack of clean runs in qualifying, with traffic slowing him down, and then also making a mistake on one run when he got a little too close to the curb, and he was approximately 7/10 of a second off the pole time.
We won here last year, we won at Sears. We came close to winning some races last year. We did win a couple, and you know, you got to look at what we have compared to our opposition. You know, we're a small team, we have a small budget. You know, we have 15 guys at our team. You know, the Audi team have got 60. We got about 2 or 3 guys on development, and they have 100 and something. So, you know, if we can get close to them, we're doing a pretty good job.
Hot on the heels of Le Mans just a few weeks ago, and pretty much as expected, storming to pole and also setting a new track record was Frank Bieler. He was, as expected, on a mission right from the start of the session, and this means his 2nd pole of the season and his 4th career pole.
No, I think qualifying was good. Of course, it's nice to be on pole. I mean, it does not necessarily mean that you win the race, but we definitely have a good position for tomorrow. And the car is well sorted out, I think, even on full tanks, and we will have an interesting race, I'm sure.
This is, in fact, the actual car that raced at Le Mans, with just a few different settings for the race here. They are having a few problems with the heat, but it shouldn't be a problem for the race at all. Sunday and race day. It's 91 degrees in the air and the track temperature approximately 124 degrees, as all now prepare for just under 3 hours of racing. It's the usual splendid build-up to the start of the race in the glorious American sunshine and a calm and relaxed atmosphere as the cars are lined up in a colourful display of performance machines, a credit to the mechanics who burn up countless hours in preparation in the hope of a victory in this prestigious race series. Last year, it was Jan Magnussen and David Brabham in the Panos who won the event, followed by the Audi of Capello and Christensen. A slightly different starting procedure here, though, with the green flag shown at turn 5 and then the pace car entering the pit lane at the end of the 2nd pace lap. And then the race starting as the lead car passes the start-finish line at the end of the 2nd place lap. So the final few moments then. And drivers just chatting away. It's hard to believe that they'll be out for 2 3/4 hours of hard, vicious racing on the circuit. The weather has been absolutely melting. Some of the drivers having problems with their cars overheating, and the mechanics doing the best to try and get as much air inside the cars as possible. If you're in an enclosed car, obviously, like the Corvette or the Celine or the Porsches, a little bit more of a problem. But this is certainly the weather to have an open-top car. So this is how the grid lines up after that qualifying session, and it is Biela and Pirro who will be leading out all the drivers around on that first pace lap. Further back down the field, see the GTS leaders, Pilgrim and Collins, and then further down, some of the others too. So the number 1 Audi, the winner at Le Mans, followed out by David Brabham, Brian Herter, there's Johnny Herbert, and Tom Christensen, as they all head out for this series of warm-up and pace laps. Of course, they'll be lining up behind the pace car that will lead them round. We're on board now with the man on pole position, and the green flag is waved now. They will have to hold position until they cross that start-finish line. There is the green flag, and they're away, and the race is well and truly on at round 3 here at Mid-Ohio. And a good start it's going to be for Frank Biela. He's just going to try and make a break right from the start. David Brabham holding that second place. And the timings and the scorings will start the moment they cross that start-finish line. We're all ready and waiting to let these beasts go. And Biela starting to pick the pace up now. David Brabham right behind him. That's Johnny Herbert in the champion Audi. Tom Christensen partnered Johnny Herbert in the last race, of course, and officially underway now. And they can break the order if they can and overtake wherever and whenever possible. Quite a few overtaking opportunities on this circuit. Some nice, tight curves. This is turn 2, around about 4th gear for the Audis. 112 miles an hour up through the gearbox. Get the speed up, and then into turn 3, which is a slight kink. About 132 miles an hour. And there's David Brabham. Second place, of course, Johnny Herbert. And then the second Panos there. Look back further down the field, and you can see the 2 Corvettes. There's the 2 Panos Mugans. The 2 Corvettes, Andy Pilgrim behind Ron Fellows in the number 4 Corvette. Chevy Corvette C5Rs, of course. And they've been having a wonderful season of dominance behind them. We're actually on board now with Ron Fellows, looking at one of the Panos Mugans ahead. But behind these 2 yellow Corvettes, we've got the Celine of Terry Borchella and his partner Franz Conrad, and then the Ferrari 550 Maranello, which is a lovely machine that's been getting better all season as well. So good view of the track here, plenty of spectators, weather is superb. Quite a lot of rubber down on the circuit now with qualifying and the practice sessions. But the Corvette's still in formation. It's still Ron Fellows that leads his teammate at the moment. And I'd be very surprised if that does change. There's the number 18 Panos with the Mugen power plant behind that. Terry Borchella in the Celine, hugging the back rear of that number 3 Corvette, looking for a way past. And Ron Fellows now closes up on the back of that prototype car. But then the power gets on the straights. The Panos can just pull away once more, picking up some of the LMP 675 classes, and there's the first of the Porsches, and that is the Vipers in amongst that as well. But that's the, oh, and there's a spinner. That's somebody gone off. That's one of the 675s that's got into problems there on, I think that's the far side of the circuit. So number 11 has to do the turning around thing, gets it on the grass, and of course that is going to pick up a lot of debris on the tyres, and 43 in the gravel as well. He's gone straight off. So that's Peter Barron. He was second in the GT class, and it brings out the full course yellows. So that means that everybody now has to hold pace. The safety car out, the pace car out on the track, and Frank Bieler, everything he tried to do to get the sprint away has gone wrong. There's John Field, and he'll be handing over later to Clint Field, the 18-year-old, very fast driver, and surprised a lot of people here with his pace. So there's the 43 car. That's the man that caused this full course caution on board inside the Corvette. And now they'll all have to wait until that car is pulled out of the gravel. Will then possibly return back to the pits if it's still drivable. And right on cue it is, so they can do this. If you can get it back and repair it in the race, you of course can continue. It's over 2 hours and 35 minutes of racing to go, so it's always worthwhile. You never know what can happen. So they'll get the green flag this time, and Frank Bieler will make the start again. David Brabham trying to stick with him. Johnny Herbert's right behind David Brabham, but nobody's got the advantage. Frank Bieler played that very well indeed, just backed them up slightly and then let go. But David Brabham still trying to hang on. Johnny Herbert's there as well, and knows how important it is to get past now if they can. They will have lost just a little bit of temperature in the tyres, and the brakes was slowing down. Just have to be a little bit cautious, but it's as close as it can be. It's Bieler from Brabham and Johnny Herbert. And Johnny Herbert at the last round at Sears Point put in an incredible couple of laps towards the end of the race, and there was something like 4 seconds between first and Herbert in second at the start of the last lap. He made it up only to catch one of the cars and ended up almost going into the barrier. And there is the number 2 Audi, so that's moved up a place now. That slots in behind the number 51 car of Brian Herter. So he's in 5th place at the moment. So it is Frank Bieler that still leads. And then it's David Brabham, Johnny Herbert's there, Brian Herter, and Tom Christensen. And Tom Christian just moving up to the back of that Panos. He's going for a look this time. He's not going to make it work there, but he's definitely trying now. And he knows that he's got to try and get ahead. Doesn't want to see the others disappear. And there is a little bit of difference between the Panos and the Audis. You heard David Brabham saying before, the difference in the team structure, the amount of people Audi have got. It's a serious, serious commitment to racing. The Panos is getting better all the time, but they haven't got anywhere near the budget. And they really, really do have to try hard. But they're always there if the Audis falter. And there's never too far before you find a Panos. So still with Brian Herter under pressure from Tom Christensen. And Tom Christensen, of course, will be partnered by his long-time co-driver Rinaldo Capello, the Italian. And of course, driving the Audi R8. And it was all a bit of a strange situation at round 2, where Audi decided that they were going to concentrate on preparing the car for Le Mans. So they were actually using older cars, not these cars that you can see now. As we change shop now and pick up the Corvettes. This is the GTS battle. And it is still Ron Fellows that leads the Celine there, still behind number 4. But the Ferrari now has disappeared. The distinctive green-coloured Ferrari 550 Maranello, which carries number 0 on the sides, that has now dropped away. Just catch a glimpse of him there now, quite a few seconds back. But the Celine, another awesome machine, and they sound absolutely incredible when you can hear these at the track. And just having a nibble there at the back of number 4, but not going to get away from it. The 2 Corvettes very evenly matched as well. on board with our race leader, already catching some of the GT cars, some of the Porsches, having to make his way through. The power advantage just allows him to nip through without any problems, but it just shows the difference in the pace of these cars, that he's now having to pick them off. So, of course, he's got to be careful, and that's the number 37 car in the pits. Well, they're having problems already, so they'll be a bit disappointed with that, and it's an alternator, we believe, the problem.
Well, it's the starternator. We've been struggling with it all weekend, and Lola's actually sent us the used one, and it's failed on us. So we've got it out. We're going to try to sort something out to do it, but it looks like it's going to be a long weekend.
So John Fields obviously hoping that they can get back in the race, and that's Johnny Herbert, still holding third place at the moment behind David Brabham. And now the prototypes, the LMP 900s, are carving through the field and lapping the Corvettes. Got to do this very carefully indeed, don't want to cause any problems. And the Corvette getting really close to the panels there, and now they go through the Porsches. Johnny Herbert, ooh, a little wiggle there as he gets the power on, just gets off the real good racing line. Puff of smoke as the tyres adhere to the tarmac, and that's the Celine in the pits problems. That's Franz Conrad with his back to us. Terry Borcello was the man out on that and working on that car. So they'll be disappointed about that. And it's a broken right side half shaft, the problem with Celine. Meanwhile, Johnny Molan and Peter Barron. Well, Peter Barron was the man we saw in the gravel trap, and this isn't for race position. That was actually unlapping himself. So, second place man, David Brabham in the Panos LMP 01, and that is Tom Christensen on the move up through. It's all going to change, of course, when the pit stops start happening, but Christensen on a move. Johnny Herbert in third place, and these two fighting it out for fourth place at the moment. Race leader is still the same. It is still the 37-year-old from Monte Carlo, Frank Bieler, German by birth. Christensen will be somewhat frustrated, would obviously like to see that Brabham in his rear view mirrors as against out the front of the visor of his helmet. But the situation pretty much a standoff at the moment. Lovely throaty roar from these prototype machines, and like I said before, you really do have to be there to feel them. The ground shakes at certain parts of the circuits as they thunder past. Well, very, very hot indeed. Track temperature still coming up. It's come up a few more degrees than when the race actually started. Those drivers will be sweating quite a lot now. Those cars will be up to full operating temperature. We're on board with Frank Bieler then. Very experienced man and delighted with the race at Le Mans. Worked really hard indeed and just picks his way past another of the GT cars. And this is number 37 then, who after quite some time are now heading back out, replacing a couple of parts. And now Johnny Molan, he is the Porsche GT leader and has a little, well, he's got a Viper behind him. Meanwhile, it's pit stop time. David Brabham has been in, hasn't touched his tyres. He's just gone for fuel only, which of course just gets them out that little bit quicker. And he's going to catch the GTS battle, I think now. Has he gone out in front of them? He'll just get out ahead of the Ferrari. But he'll have the Corvettes to pass as well, but that shouldn't be too much of a problem for him. And, well, there he is. In fact, there's our race leader now. So, the panel's a lap behind. We're on board with the Banana Joe's number 37 of John Field back out again. And they'll be hoping that the car runs okay for them now. And it's Clint Field that's taken over in that car, the 18-year-old. And a very quick driver indeed, just very gingerly eyeing up that Porsche. And you do have to be careful. They don't always notice that somebody's there. And you don't want any run-ins to ruin your race. Spectators everywhere around this circuit. And this is a great drive from the young 18-year-old. Going well so far. Not too much traffic around at the moment, and he is putting in some good laps at the moment. Well, pit stop time in pit lane, and Frank Bieler has gone out. Emmanuel Pirot has got in. They've refueled and putting the tyres on. Can't actually work on the car whilst the fuel is going in. Only the people operating the fuel lines can touch the car. The driver can get out. And out onto the circuit once more. Has to get the car back up to temperature again with the brakes and the tyres. The tyres are new. Johnny Herbert into the pits as well. And will this be a driver change, or will he just be taking on fuel? Well, the tyres are over the wall. The fuel's going in now. They're actually looking at the tyres, and it doesn't look as if they're going to change them. Johnny Herbert stays in. Just having a look at the car. Everything seems to be okay. And there's number 2, Tom Christensen. And he has moved up, of course, still to stop. He hasn't done that yet. And there's a retirement. That's number 18, who stopped at the side of the circuit. So disappointment for Didier Rodriguez. Oh, and that's Johnny Herbert in the gravel. Herbert's gone off. Oh, he's had an incident. He's had an incident with the number 42 GT car, and that's taken him out into the gravel, and Herbert will be very disappointed with that indeed. He's sitting in the car. He's this is going to be a full course yellow, so he's waiting for a tow out of there. Depends how much damage there is. Into the pit lane comes number 50, and Jan Magnussen is in the car now as well. New tyres, and they've also replaced the steering wheel due to a faulty fuel setting, so that should help them lean the mixture off a little bit when they don't need it.
It was a good race. I mean, we were having a good dice up there at the front. I was surprised I could hang with the Audis as well as I did, and got caught out in traffic. Johnny got past me. I was slowly catching. Then I came in for fuel, pushed like hell. And, you know, without that yellow, we would have gone back up to second. So it was a good stint, and tyres were running, conditions were really good.
David Brabham there. And the pace car out on the circuit once more. And the Audis lined up. And, of course, cars in all sorts of orders here. It all gets confused at these moments. They have to hold station behind. There's the Corvette and the Celine. That's the other Panos. Ryan Hurd is still in that. And there's Ron Fellows in the number 3 Corvettes. On board then with our race leader, still behind the pace car that you can see, and weaving around in a rather strange manner, but this is to just cause a bit of friction between the asphalt and the tyres. Just get a bit of heat in there, and they'll be riding the brakes as well, just to keep a little bit of temperature in them. So all having to hold whilst they get the incident out of the way. And here's a replay, and that's a touch there between the Corvette and the Panos, and a little bit of over exuberance there, I think. Is there any damage to the number 51 car? It doesn't seem to be anything major, but there might just be a bit of a ruling on that. So anyway, back at the front end, the race is on, the green flag's out, and yet again Frank Bieler has to do the start thing, but he's done it perfectly. He's out ahead of the second car, the yellow and silver Audi number 2. So Pirot leads Christensen. Brian Herter, number 51, currently in 3rd place. And then that's number 16 behind him. So the Panos, well, that Panos still has to come into the pits. That's why he is up to 3rd place. We saw, of course, David Brabham talking a few moments ago. There's the number 16 car. And he's handed over now to Jan Magnussen, who's drove Formula 1 for quite some time. And the Thetford machine, the number 16 car, just trying to hang on to the back of that Panos. Headlights on, dazzling in the sunshine. gorgeous, gorgeous day here in America. Temperatures are incredible, though. And David Brabham didn't actually look too bad. He looked too tired, but of course the drivers get a chance to have a bit of a break. And one of the panels into the pits now. And I think that was Herter that jumped into the pits. And he's in. We're told for a stop-and-go penalty after that incident we saw before. So Herter has been found guilty and penalised. So a quick stop-and-go for him. But of course, he's going to have to come back in for his pit stop. Back out again and lost a lot of positions in a lot of traffic now. And that's going to slow him down. So he'll be annoyed about that. Johnny Herbert gets out of the car. Stefan Johansson gets belted in. Hopefully they can get that car fixed and back out on the track again.
As far as I'm aware, I'm sure I actually gave him a plenty of room, but I understand, I don't know, I haven't seen it, but the guys told me they looked as if he lost it on the replay and he just nudged my rear and that was enough to take me off, which is just unfortunate. Once we did the strategy to stay on the old tyres, that had to happen. So we're trying to, you know, get as many points as we can today and hopefully get some good luck in the next one and maybe bad luck for the other guys as well.
Well, Johnny Herbert is optimistic as always, and of course very, very experienced driver, drove in Formula One for many, many years indeed, and house in Monte Carlo, and well, he'll be disappointed with that. He did of course come out of Formula One and was going to take life a lot easier, but he's still got a very full race calendar again this year. So back to the race then, on board with Emmanuel Pirot inside that #1 car, leading this race. Tom Christensen, #2, behind him in second place in the Audi. And Porsche's ahead of them that they need to clear now. And the gap about the same between first and second. On board inside the GTS leader, on board with Ron Fellows. Another great racer, very likeable man. Back to our race leader once again in the Audi. These incredible machines. And everything seems to be going pretty well so far for them. Well, it didn't go well for them last year because it was Magnussen and Brabham that won last year. Capello and Christensen took the Audi R8 to second place, and it was Frank Bieler and Emmanuel Pirot that finished 4th last year. Johnny Herbert and Andy Wallace in the champion Audi were 5th place. So it's a little bit different this year, but it is still Audis 1 and 2. The #3 Corvette, the GTS leader, about to be passed by our race leader. He gets the right moment, and a lot of damage to the #42 car as he comes into the pits, Tony Castor. So, see what problems he's got. Well, the rear wing coming off. The engine's, of course, in the rear of the Porsche, so some problems there as well. Meanwhile, #31, this is our GT leader, Randy Pobst and Lucas Law, who partnered by Sasha Masson in the #23 car. So, not much ground between those two. Porsches is always scrapping it out, and it does make for interesting racing. You've got all these different classes involved, and it is quite difficult to keep track sometimes. It is quite a serious work for the timekeepers and the officials to keep on the ball with all the goings on as well. But that is the GT battle at the moment, being won as we watch it by #31, but still quite a long way to go. And having a look on the inside there, just hoping for a mistake. And the Racers Group car this time inside #66. So a view from inside the Porsche, and that's the 37 car that goes past him. That's 37 Clint Field then, and he has actually now set a new class record, 1 minute 17.455 seconds. No more records, I think, being set by that car, because into the gravel at turn 11 is the #13 Lola Millington. And that was the LMP 675 leader, so Brian Willman now takes over that. Full course yellow, pit lane will become busy again, and Emmanuel Pirot heads into the pits. That's handed the lead over to number 2, so Christensen leads, but of course he will have to pit again as well. So, of course, they take advantage of these cautions to do the pit thing. There's Jan Magnussen. He's been in. Tyres look like they've been changed. So, back out once more. And, of course, the team have to keep rejigging these strategies all the time. And what's going on here? That's one of the Corvettes. And that's one of the Panos that have just gone past Pirot. Well, Pirot's either made a mistake or there's something wrong, and well, can't work that one out at all. And now he's behind a Corvette, which he's going to be able to pass very, very easily indeed once he gets right up to him. But more importantly, the Panos has gone past, up through on the inside, takes the Corvette back, and those cars were close behind him. Yes, you'd expect the Panos to go through, but to take the Corvette as well is quite something. And I think Pirot has been caught out by the restart of the race. I think he's actually forgotten that the green flag was coming out after that full course yellow. So he's down to 3rd place now. You will actually get a glimpse of 3 lights on the side in the centre of the cars, and those lights do indicate the position in the race up from 1st to 3rd. And look at the traffic he's got. This is going to cost him dearly. And that big line of cars in front of him, and he's trying hard. You saw and heard that car digging its tyres into the tarmac as he put the boot in. So a lot of ground, a lot of time to make up. Gently does it. You don't want any incidents there at all. And now has his work to do all over again. So back at Mid-Ohio, it's the number 2 Audi, Tom Christensen on board. And leading this race, Jan Magnussen in the number 50 Panos, and Emmanuel Pirot back down in 3rd place with a lot of work to do. Just catch a glimpse of that single light on just in front of the rear tyre. That just helps to indicate that he is the class leader. Slide there as he got the power on. Meanwhile, Pirot is still working hard in 3rd place, still passing the traffic, trying to make up ground again. But of course that means that going to be using more fuel, going to be harder on the tyres as well as he tries to get that advantage down. And there's the 51 Panos. Of course had that stop and go penalty before, and that didn't do him any good at all. And been in the pits for the scheduled stop. Bill Auberlane has taken over from Brian Herter, and currently in 4th place, which really is probably where we would have expected to see them in this race anyway. So lost a position, but the time has been, of course, the major factor on it. So he continues on his way, and more traffic ahead of him. See the heat haze coming off this track. Air temperature here over 90 degrees. Track temperature in the hundreds. Bill Auberlane now in that car, dialed in, everything up to temperature, and just settling down for his stint now, and trying to see what he can do. The Saleen, we just caught a glimpse of the Saleen in the GTS class. Back once more with this Panos. Nice sweeping circuit here, a lot of gradients on it, and quite a steep drop there as they go down and into that right-hander. Lovely circuits, 2.258 miles, that's 3.6 kilometers. And it's actually Tom Christensen that holds the ALMS track record here, 1 minute 14.5 that he set in the race last year. And right on cue, there is Tom Christensen in the number 2 Audi. So currently leading this race, but again, we don't know exactly what the pit stop strategy will be. We don't really know how it will iron out with the teammates. The aim, of course, to get Audi's first and second home, third if they can as well with the champion Audi, but that's a bit of a lost cause now after that problem with the crash and the incident for Johnny Herbert. He has actually got back out, or Stefan Johansson is actually back out on the circuit again, but of course a lot of time down, but just hoping that they can pick up some points. So Christensen about to catch up with a couple more cars. Meanwhile, the pit crew working out what they need to do strategy-wise, having a look at where they are on the circuit, what the traffic is, when they need to come in, and hoping that there might be another caution. There's always a good chance that there will be, that they can use to jig the pit stops around. And then, of course, they usually maybe have to do a splash and dash towards the end, depending on where the cautions have come into the race. This is our GT battle, and oh, would you believe it, first and second in the GT class. That's turn 11 again. It's been catching a few people out, and Lucas Law has just taken himself out of the race, as well as the number 31 car, and that's also promoted then Mike Fitzgerald to the GT leader. And more importantly, it has caused a full course yellow, which we were just talking about then. So everybody has to hold fire once more. And there is the number 31 car. And will that be able to get back out again? Well, there's the pace car, and it looks as if the lights are off. The lights are flashing on it as it continues around. As soon as they go off, it means it's going to pull off into the pit lane next time round, and it does. And they will have to hold station until they get the green flag and cross the line. So away they go now, and that might just have helped the number 1 Audi. There's 37, there's Clint Field, having a good race, and so far no more problems for that car. Looks to be good, and even better for the Audi of Tom Christensen. And that is the 31 Porsche being retired then, former leader of the GT class, so disappointment there. And there in third place is the number 50 Panos, that looks more or less certain to be on the podium then today. And Jan Magnussen and David Brabham were delighted with the win at Sears Point. So just drops it down a gear, feathers it through to that little tight S. Up over the top and then back down the hill once more. Nice sweeping circuit here. Probably around about 150, maybe 155 miles an hour for the leading Audis on some parts of the track as the Ferrari retires. So that's it, end of the race for the Ferrari. And maybe a little bit of oil burning there, or something just catching on the exhaust, but disappointment for the Ferrari. What a shame to see it retire. The Olive Garden Ferrari 550 Maranello out of the race. And Domenico Ciatarella gets out, just talking to one of the marshals there. And what a shame. So close to the end of the race as well. So meanwhile, back to our race leader. Just has to keep going. There he is, just continuing round. A single light illuminated on the side of that car to show that he's leading this race. Well, Emmanuel Pirot has gone up to second place now. Can't see him at the moment, but he has got past the Panos, so the Panos down to third place at the moment. Plenty of time though, anything can happen. Single yellow flag out as well, and that I think is for the Ferrari that stopped just at the end of the pit lane, and that was Pirot, who's up to second place now. lost a lot of time, lost a lot of ground, and still continuing to make it up. And looking to see then where the race leader was, what the gap was down to. Well, there's our race leader, there's Christensen. Look back, and there is Pirot now. A few more cars between them, but Pirot is definitely starting to charge and catch up on the race leader. And then we could be in for an interesting end to this race to see what happens in it now. Well, no more pit stops to take. They should now be running all the way to the checkered flag. There's our GTS leader, and Johnny O'Connell inside, having taken over earlier from Ron Fellows. On the way to another class victory for them. They'll be delighted about that. They're having a storming season this year, and the Corvette's just working wonderfully. And back with our race leader. And do we get to see where Pirot is in the number one? The white flag's out. That means one more lap to go, and there is Pirot. And it is only a few seconds between them now. Pirot is definitely closing. Can he or will he do anything about that lead? Well, another Porsche in the way now, and it's going to be difficult for Pirot. Looks like it's going to be second place for him, and well, that mistake earlier on has possibly cost him the race. So the gap coming down all the time between first and second place, and it's going to be a formation Audi finish, and problems for the number two. Going very slowly there. It seemed to be having sort of definitely slowing. There's a problem with the number two car. There is drama inside that car. Well, they're alongside each other now. It's just trying to hear if actually hear what the problem is, and could it be fuel? Well, Christensen is wiggling that car around, and I think they've caught the fuel a little bit tight. And that's given Pirot the win. Christensen is almost at the line. Might just have enough momentum to cruise over. You can see he's just freewheeling now, but Pirot, well, wouldn't have banked on that at all. And a dramatic end to this race. Certainly one that we didn't predict at the start of that last lap. Christensen will be absolutely outraged at that. So, yet again, it's last lap drama. Pirot inherits the win from a spluttering Christensen, who does make it into second place, and Jan Magnussen takes third for Panels.
It was hard, but I was quite worried about the heat and everything, but because there was a lot of pressure during the whole race, I pushed very, very much the whole race, and so I did not feel tired. I really enjoyed the race. It was a tough battle against the Panels. It was a strategical battle with stopping or not stopping. From in there, it was a hell of a race. I don't know from out there how it looked.
Christensen now heads the championship points table by 2 points from Johnny Herbert. Herbert is tied with Capello for third, Dealer and Pirot also tied. Fellows heads the GTS points on 85 from Johnny O'Connell, whilst Sasha Masson leads the GTs from Lucas Law. So we've been treated again to another racing spectacular, and the podium celebration brings an end to round 3 of this year's championship. For the team and the drivers, no break now. There's another race to follow in weekend, and they'll be at it again in true ALMS style at Road America.